just having the courage to go all in and not be half-assed at a couple of things and try and do one thing well. I think I've kind of held on to that fear for too long, and instead of just backing myself to leap in and that I can do it, and I probably could have done it quicker if I'd trusted in myself to just do it.
Welcome to XPhys Biz with me, Aaron King, a podcast for exercise physiologists and health professionals wanting to grow and scale in business. So welcome to episode 3 of XPhys Biz with me, Aaron King, and I have Rebecca Hallam with me for this episode. I thought it was important to share her story because she's a parent to young Jack who's 2 and running a business, and I thought I wanted to have a bit of a chat about how she does it or doesn't do it, and then different times, because that's just the reality of it. And I can obviously share some of my experiences of running a business as a father, and I guess we'll see where that goes. So you're an exercise physiologist, you run Life in Action, that's your business. Do you have anything further to add? You're probably best to introduce yourself rather than I. So you give yourself a bit of an intro. So Take it away.
Yeah, no worries. So, my business is Life in Action. We're based down in Melbourne, in Victoria. I've been running Life in Action since about 2014, middle of 2014. And Jack came along in 2020, just in time for a pandemic to hit. So that's been another interesting addition to the whole journey. Yeah, so it's just Jack and I. I'm a single mum by choice. And it's been an interesting couple of years, let's just say. So, we've got a small team down here.
Yeah, so how did Life in Action come about? Obviously that was 2014, so it's been a few years, and there was the 6 or so years prior to Jack coming along. So tell us a bit about your first 6, and then we'll maybe get into the last couple.
Yeah, no worries. So Life in Action, I was working in the hospital system for a long time, but I guess when I was studying, I'd always imagined having my own business. And at the start of 2014, I left one job to take another one on a short-term contract, which went from full-time to part-time with public health funding and all that. And while I was kind of juggling a few things and deciding what I wanted my next move to be, the opportunity came up near to my home for someone that was offering a room. So I thought, why not give it a go and see if I like it? I think I saw about 3 clients in 6 months. Had no idea what to do as far as running a business or promoting myself. And for someone who's always been exceptionally confident in going into a job, I go to a job interview and think about what I'm prepared to accept when they offer it to me, not if they offer it to me. As a person going into medical clinics and the like and introducing myself and asking for referrals, completely different, completely the opposite. It was like, why would anybody want to refer to me? So it's amazing that I actually got past that first couple of months, but I did take on the opportunity to do a little bit of professional and personal development. And as the year progressed, things were kind of leading towards either needing to find a different job and try something different, or taking a leap of faith and going full time into doing my own thing, which is what I did. So from the start of 2015, I've been predominantly in my own business. I did take up another day a week in another role, but that's where Life in Action was born, and it's just kind of evolved since then.
Yeah, I think your story of not really knowing what you're doing, pretty much all the time, I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes a bit of that imposter syndrome where you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm an adult, got kids of my own, but I don't feel even responsible enough to be doing all the things that I'm technically responsible for.
There's definitely days like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that probably in the similar situation where you're like, oh, is this going to work? Is it not? Maybe need to take up something full-time. But I guess, my philosophy, or what I realize now, is looking at going, well, when I was sort of spreading my wings and sort of doing a bit half-half, it wasn't working. Obviously, instead of half-assing 2 things, I think you got to full-ass 1 thing, and that's how it works. And obviously, you took off from there. So there's been a few things that are going on. You've got a bit of a small team as well. And I did see, I think it was on your socials, that you got promoted by Telstra or something like that at the AFL.
Yes.
So give us a bit of insight of how did that pan out? You're on the big screen at some of the AFL games?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so it's actually a competition that Telstra runs each year. It's called the Big Plugs for Small Business and for Telstra customers. And I just happened to have kept my business, all of my telecommunications through Telstra, much to some people's surprise. Anyway, on a whim at the last minute, about an hour before it was due to close, I decided to put in a quick submission to them, and I won. And so what they do is, for one particular round of the AFL and one round of the NRL, each game has a winner and you get promoted on the big screen. Different things happen depending on the game and the coverage and the teams and all the rest of it. So everybody's experience was a little bit different. Some of them had games that were on free-to-air television and got some really good promotion and some ads and things like that, which we were a bit unlucky in that respect. We were on a Foxtel game, but it was still a pretty cool experience to see myself up on the big screen, to see my business. Even now, whenever I watch the football, whenever the Telstra stuff starts going around the boundary, I keep expecting Life in Action to pop up straight afterwards because that's what happened all day. And so, yeah, we got a fancy lunch and corporate hospitality, and I tossed the coin to start the game, and my niece got to go through the run through with the players, and had a special day at the footy, and yeah, lots of promotion on the day, and we did end up on the TV a little bit, so it was pretty cool. Plus we also, probably the bigger part of the less glamorous but bigger part of the win is that we also won 4 million Telstra points, which means I've been able to set up my team with some tablets, and probably after today I'll go back and have a look at what sort of microphones and headphones and things they have, so I can get better at this technology stuff. So that's been basically a good amount of money really into my business of things. It has to be through Telstra, so you're limited in what you can choose, but it's been a way to kind of boost us a little bit on the way. So yeah, it was a really exciting win.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I took from that is, well, just submit your application, submit your request, your nomination to whatever you think you might get in on, because you might get lucky. Send that message to the person that you might want to. And, obviously you're talking about a very specific experience with the competition, but I know that we've been nominated for a number of different awards and things like that. And I'm thinking, maybe I won't do the application, maybe I won't do that. Being nominated, but do it anyway. And we've got like 5 trophies on the wall or something at the moment, so it doesn't hurt, and it's a great marketing tool for the next 12 months or beyond.
Yeah. So, and I've kind of been a bit more reticent with awards and things. I've always kind of gone, look, if I'm going to win something like that, I'd rather it be because somebody nominated me. But I think in some instances, and seeing the success that you've had with some of your local business awards and things, and sometimes it's a way of promoting yourself and getting out there. And yeah, as you said, and it's a different platform, and being able to kind of use your words. And I know that the girl that was choosing the winners, she said, she was speaking to my mum because she was sitting at our table on the day at the lunch, and she said it was just a no-brainer. She said as soon as we read Rebecca's application, there was no one else that was going to win it for that game. So cool. I agree. It's you just got to put yourself out there and trust in yourself. And
even if you don't, just act confident until it starts to come.
Yeah, exactly.
Because nobody really knows what they're doing until they start doing it. Everyone's just winging life and hoping for the best. Yeah, so I wanted to obviously speak about your experience running a business, parenting young Jack. You mentioned obviously you're taking on the all roles in the household. So a little bit different experience to myself, where I come to work and my wife does do a lot of the running around, the school drop-offs, bits and pieces as well. But I'm here for a pretty long days most times, so our situation is a little bit different. But I thought it was really important to sort of share some of your approaches of how you do it and sort of what the challenges were. So you ran the business before having Jack for 6 years? Yeah, 6 years. And then Jack came along, pandemic. We don't probably need to speak about that too much because everyone knows, well, obviously face-to-face services were restricted, cut off. Even if there were parts that could operate, there was elements of, well, should you? Is it safe to? And obviously, you being in Melbourne, there was periods where you were more affected than other parts of the country and the world. But then, so Jack came along. Did you run the business the entire time through your pregnancy and once he was born?
Yeah, I did, and that's where and I know we don't need to talk too much about the pandemic and what it's been for the last couple of years, but I think actually a positive story for me is that in a lot of ways it helped me through that period. Of course, it's added a lot of extra challenges. However, for me, it also meant that, before it hit, I was kind of transitioning towards maternity leave, and I'd literally just employed someone, I think she had 3 days before the first lockdown. Whoops. So there was challenges with that. But I guess what I was worried about getting to that point was how I was going to support myself and pay wages and pay rent and all the rest of it. And so one of the, I guess, little bonuses was that a lot of my rent, the structure that I had at the time meant that a lot of my rent ceased through lockdowns. So all I then had to worry about was wages. And we actually were lucky that we did quite well with transitioning a lot of people to telehealth. And so I was able to actually keep her quite busy even through the lockdowns, but not have the same overheads that I would have had, which I was a little bit concerned about how I was going to support 2 people through that period. So in that respect, it was a little kind of bonus for me at that time. It did change the way that I thought that I would run things after I had a baby. I kind of had grand visions of giving birth and just recovering for a few weeks and then, having this resilient little baby that would come with me to run group sessions or work with the clients that I thought would be open to having a baby around but would prefer to keep working with me, so that I thought that, I'd still be able to kind of bring in enough of the income myself that kind of paid my wages and then free up her space to keep building with the rest of it, so that we kind of could grow. But it didn't work out that way, but it still worked out for us in the long run, to the point where coming out of the pandemic, we've been able to renovate our own space and have a bigger space that we operate out of now. My team did grow to 3. It's currently shrunk again, but that's just all part of the ebbs and flows of business. And so, yeah, we've kind of been able to get through it pretty well. Because of the pandemic, moved in with my parents for a while. They were up in regional Victoria and not locked down, and I also wanted to have that support through that time. Didn't want to be kind of locked down with a baby on my own completely. So that did mean that I had the support through that time to still be able to keep up with doing all the book work and all of that type of stuff myself, and then providing the mentoring support and things. Even though it was remotely, I was able to keep doing that throughout. And I kind of always looked at it. I looked to a colleague of ours who we both know in Nicole French, and was inspired by her story and demonstration of how her business actually grew through her maternity leaves. That she
when you realise you're less needed.
A long time before she was a mum, and things kind of expanded and contracted as new businesses do. But she's really gone from strength to strength since she actually started a family. And I thought, well, if she can do that, then maybe this is my opportunity to do the same thing. And I think certainly, of course, your priorities change when you step into parenthood, but I think it kind of encourages you to be more brave, but also to kind of step back a little bit and trust that you can, that maybe your role's better served elsewhere rather than just being in the business 24/7 and trying to do everything yourself.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, out of necessity, you change, and it has been through the pandemic. It's changed out of necessity. Like, we went solely online and things like that as well. It was on the future plans, but it was like, well, no, can't do anything else, so might as well be the immediate plan. And having the diversity of clients was really helpful for us, because private clients, from our point of view, from the way that we operate our business, is probably the biggest area that we see and we service, because third-party schemes can change at any time, and you're just at the whims of whichever organisation is making the decisions. Like, they've just made some changes to, where work covers, NDIS in the news, Medicare's had a freeze, like all of these things. So we did lose, I guess, some of the private clients that have those choices, but then there are the other ones, like, the NDIS clients that are really keen to continue because they need to continue, and the work cover there, some of them want to continue, some of them don't want to, but obviously they were forced, I guess we'll use that, for some of them, because they need to ensure that they get the progress for their needs as well. So there was a bit of a balance of clients and sort of understanding that. Like, I guess I'll cover, we had a bit of a really positive, not a positive experience, but a positive silver lining to the pandemic as well. One of my daughters, Aria, has cerebral palsy. Like, some people know that, some people don't. We were able to, my wife and Aria and my mother went overseas to America for her to have spinal surgery during the pandemic, because they cut off a lot of other countries going into there. So she skipped the international line by about 2 years. So it reduced her spasticity in her lower legs and things like that. And she's not in the same level of pain and so forth. And if we waited another couple of years, because that's just the timeline of when you can get things, they do a similar surgery in Australia, but it's not as fine tuned, and it's not as detailed, it's not as progressive, I guess. So we're a little bit more conservative here, and she didn't fit the requirement here, and they do it when they're a lot older. But when you're older, you have more bony changes that you can't come back from. So I stayed behind, ran the business. Obviously, we were online, we were doing things, so I was able to sort of stay back with the other two kids, get them to school and things like, because at that point they were still going to school face to face. I can't even remember. It's such a blur, but I remember taking them to school or daycare at some point. So maybe it was half, but I do feel like that I was still able to work while our eldest was actually formally homeschooling. So I feel like this was, I didn't even know when the timeline was. But so the silver lining is, Ari got a surgery that she wouldn't have even been able to have had it not been for the pandemic. So there's definitely some benefits to that you just got to roll with. So.
Absolutely. And I think it's the attitude that you take into it. You know, my thing from the start was, right, here's an opportunity. And I think within the first kind of 2 days of there being cases in Australia, I was like, right, Essa, what are we doing about getting, telehealth happening, and kind of supported them with a couple of things like that, and just went with it. Whereas, you kind of see through different chats other people that are a bit more, well, who's going to do something for me, and, how are we expected to work like this? But I think, maybe that's just me, but I think also, I guess, with what I had going on in my life and transitioning into motherhood, is you kind of got to go, right, well, there's no point sitting back and, crying about it all. Let's see where the opportunities are here and find a way forward. And as I said, that's kind of how I looked at, I could have been terrified to go and try and add a child to the mix when I was already working 24/7 with a business. But I was, I always looked at it as being that opportunity for my business to actually grow through something different. So,
well, let's be honest, you were terrified, but you did it anyway, because that's kind of how things work. So if we put some honesty out there, yes, you're terrified. Yes, you're concerned. Yes, you're thinking, oh shit, I don't know if I should be doing this, but you do it anyway, and you make it happen, make mistakes, have some failures, and then the successes come, because like we have no plan B here. So plan A just has to work, because obviously you've got 3 kids at home. Our structure's been a little bit different in running the business. Like my wife was meant to go back into formal work. She was going to then work for us and do a lot more things in the background, but just circumstances didn't turn out that way, because we've got 2 kids in daycare and 1 kid in school. Always every second week one of them would be sick. She'd turn up for a day of work. Sorry, I got to pick up my kids, so I can't leave. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're the worst employee. They're your kids as well. Okay, fair enough. So we so we
myself every week.
So we kind of, for the short term, like restructured it. So I'm probably working the hours that I work is equivalent of like 2 people's work, but then she also does 2 people's work at home. So we're a team, but we've just separated our roles during the day. But it was never intended to be like that. But it's just that was the best way. And I know that my wife's like, oh look, I feel like I want to contribute a little bit more. And from my point of view, she's probably contributing a hell of a lot more than me in some ways, because I go, well, I'm actually probably, it's easier sometimes being here and dealing with adults than 2 4-year-olds and a 7-year-old and doing all of that. Like Ari's got a lot of therapy, and that's why we had to restructure what we're doing. She's got multiple therapies a week and things like that as well. So it's just how it's turned out, but we make it work in our situation. So were you worried when you started out, like, what were, I guess, the expectations versus reality? You mentioned the expectations that you'd be able to just take Jack along and everything would be sweet and things like that. Now you're laughing. So what was the reality of that?
The reality, look, obviously the plans changed. I think if life had continued as we knew it before, pre-COVID, I certainly would have introduced Jack to my clients a lot earlier. I did introduce him to a few things when we did come back and when we moved back down to Melbourne, and I started to get more involved back in the business, because there was a my Parkinson's group that we would run on a Wednesday. I was the only one available to do that. So
surely they would have loved him coming along.
They loved him, but it was also at a time where he was learning to walk, and then he very quickly learnt to run, and so it added a whole layer of complexity to the balance challenges we had. Or he'd be very helpful in that I'd set up an obstacle course, and then he'd pick up all the equipment when they needed to use it. So he's a very busy and active little boy. So now it's hard to get a word in. So it's certainly been, reality has been in a lot of ways, I guess, a lot more difficult, particularly I guess the last 6 months I've struggled a lot. So we both got COVID ourselves back in January, and whilst I was fine at the time, I suffered a lot from fatigue afterwards. But also whilst I was recovering from that, I had a team member resign to move out of Melbourne, and then I also needed to kind of step up and do a little bit more with one of my other team members, who then took some sick leave and then came back, and then they came back, and then Jack got gastro, so then of course I got gastro, and then the next week the same team member happened to break their leg and has been off work ever since. So there's been a lot of juggling back and forth, and I contracted my services to another sports medicine clinic down here, which is great, and I love the work, and they're a great team, and I treat that as an extension of my business anyway. But it was taking half a day out of my work hours, so there's a bit of extra stuff there, and it kind of feels like every time I've decided I need to streamline things and make it a bit easier for myself, something else jumps up before I can actually finish taking the action. So I put the plans in place, but then it becomes urgent, like straight away kind of thing. So, I created that space for myself by stepping back from there. And then the next week, team member breaks the leg and I'm traveling off 2 days a week to go and see all of their clients. And so I've not really had a chance in the last 6 or 7 months to actually get over my fatigue and recover and actually find the energy to do everything. And so then, with a toddler who's getting more active and more engaging and more engaged in things every day and every week, it's a really hard struggle to want to be able to be there for him as much as he needs me to be, and not be a grumpy, tired mum, and not be a mum that sits him in front of technology so that I can have a rest. And so that culminated in about...
Not 100% of the time anyway, let's be honest. That
no, I mean, there's times where that's necessary. And kind of all came to a head about a month ago when I found myself, I fell asleep. I got out of bed on a Sunday morning and sat on the couch and fell asleep and slept for an hour and a half while he was playing on his own. And I went, right, I can't keep sustaining this, so I need to have a break. So I just shifted things around. It wasn't convenient, but I shifted things around and gave myself a week off a couple of weeks ago. And I just rang my parents and I said, look, I'd love to go and have a holiday, but the reality is all I'd want to do is sleep anyway. So I just went and stayed with them for a week so that he could have time with them. They'd have great time with him. Mum could do the cooking and change the nappies and, get him out of bed in the morning. And so, because... I've got to try and, I've always been probably a bad one for not taking holidays when I should and waiting till I'm burnt out and then, needing a bit of extra recovery time or getting sick or whatever. And you kind of got to preempt that now. And I think this phase has really kind of shown me that I need to plan more strategically around self-care and self-preservation and making sure that I don't get to that point where I'm putting my child at risk because I'm exhausted and I can't do any more than what I've been doing. So that kind of comes to this morning where a team member has actually decided that they can't come back at the moment. And so it's like, financially, it's actually kind of easier for me at the moment to be doing the work. But I think part of my decision making over the last couple of years has been to kind of take the financial hit of having an extra staff member potentially a little bit before I'm ready to, but to give myself the space to eventually, hopefully, have things settle down enough that I can spend my time working on the business a bit more instead of being in it 24/7, but also then to be able to still be a mum when I need to be. So while we're going through all of the winter germs and the daycare illnesses and, because I am that unreliable employee for myself that I was like, oh, sorry, he's sick again, I've got to cancel. And I don't like having to do that. So it's like, do I advertise and get someone straight away, or do I go, let's save a bit of money for a couple of months? And I think it's just a matter of let's throw the feelers out there, because everybody's having trouble employing people at the moment anyway. If I get the right fit, then that's great. I'll take the financial hit to actually have the opportunity to grow and to continue to step away from being face to face with the clients every day, which means that, you know, I can still do something from home when he's sick, but I can't see clients.
Definitely the challenge and the balance of
absolutely. And if I don't find the right person, well, then that's okay, because I know that at the moment it means that I'm saving some money. So
yeah, it's definitely a challenge. Like, we've gone through that here as well, where it's like, look, to be able to step back, you know, my roles, you know, to be honest, I'm probably a roadblock in some things that happen. The team are a lot better in many areas than I, and I've got to accept that. And obviously you said that, you know, other people have accepted that, and sometimes their business grows better without them, because you give them the framework of what you want to achieve. But then, like, I know that for me, sometimes when I'm with people, like, my mind's somewhere else, and like, I'll be honest, that happens, and I don't want it to happen. It's not ideal for that to happen, but my mind doesn't turn off what's going on in the business in the background, whether I'm at home, whether I'm here in a session or doing things. I'm like, well, the other people are best off doing certain roles, and I'm best off managing that role, and then I'll be a better, I don't like to use the word boss, but I guess a better leader than better leader and better support for them. And if then I help the team, then the team will help the clients and the members and things like that as well. And, you know, your experience of like, when's the right time to hire someone to grow and expand, because it is a real balancing act. We've looked at, well, we've grown to need a part-time, therefore we'll hire full-time, and just kind of have to make it work. I've sort of found that balance has worked, because just being able to then hire a full-time, going, well, shit, I need to find extra clients and extra support. We need to help more people for them to be full and make sure we can pay the bills. Because although we really want to help people, and that's what we go into it, and we're really, you know, empathetic and supportive, things like that, we need to make sure that at the end of the day, the bills are paid, because no one can see anyone if, you know, the bills are paid. And having your finances in order just means you can do more things with more people.
I think for me, that's where I was going, is something that was always important to me, like pre-Jack, was that, you know, I always saw that I had a role in developing other exercise physiologists and developing our profession. And I've always kind of liked to give back to the profession, but I also, you know, have wanted that to be a part of my business, is having a structure in place where it's not all about me, it's about being able to kind of grow other people to do what I do, because I think that I've done it pretty well, and I've been, you know, successful as a clinician, and, you know, I certainly get good feedback from people in terms of the impact that I have in that respect. And so this was, I guess, another opportunity to kind of recognise that and be better at that. And I'm the same as you. Like, there's times when my mind's not really there, and I feel like my best role now is to lead other people to work how I've worked, and to be able to kind of build on those opportunities, because I can help more people by developing the right people to do what I do. And so I think that there's better value for me now in running my business in that kind of mentoring capacity and growth and development of others, than to feel like I've got to do everything myself. I've been lucky with the team.
It's hard for sometimes to step away and not have a finger in each pie, so to speak.
But it's been so refreshing, actually, when I've kind of felt like, all right, well, here's a list of things that need to happen, you know, and I've got to do all of this while you're doing that. And my team have come back to me and said, why I've got time, why can't I do this for you? And things that I've had on my to-do list for so long, they've done it in like seconds, and it's like, and just actually realizing that, yes, a team doesn't mean a captain that you know, that does everything. It's a team, and we can work together, and giving them that license to go out there and contribute, I think it engages them more in the role as well, and it helps them to want to be better.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Giving them some responsibility, and just giving them the framework of how the business should look, the team, the culture, and everything like that. And then sometimes they come back, or sometimes I'll say a lot, most of the time they come back to me and like, hey, I've done this and loads better. I'm like, yep, keep doing that, because that was heaps better than what I would have done. So awesome. You can't take all the credit for that. But so what have been, I guess, the biggest benefits of having Jack and running the business? You said that, you know, you had no choice and things happened out of innovation. Was that the biggest benefit, or have there been some other benefits next to the challenges?
Look, yeah, as I said, I don't look at the challenges as being, that's why I use the word challenges. They're not necessarily negatives. They're challenges and they're not easy, but
growth opportunities.
They're growth opportunities, yeah, definitely growth opportunities. It's, well, obviously having Jack, you know yourself, having kids it changes your perspective on a lot of things. Now, I always knew that I wanted to be a mum, and that to me has been everything. But I think it helps you to prioritise balance in your life between work and home. You know, it was nothing for me before to spend all day seeing clients and then spend, 4 or 5 hours at night doing admin, whether it was writing notes or, doing financials and all of that sort of stuff. So it doesn't mean that, obviously I still find it hard to prioritise self-care sometimes, but I think that's also life. There's plenty of people like that. And I've spent 20 odd years telling, mums that if they don't look after themselves first, then they can't look after their families. And then I listen to myself saying that now and I go, yep, how about taking some notice of that? So, it gives you a different appreciation for the people that you're working with, and what's been going on in their lives as well when you are talking to them about all of these things that you expect them to do as a clinician. But it also kind of helps you to just look at the enjoyment in life, and, that kids can teach us so much about, making life easy, just being happy and moving and, just doing what they need for them, having their own needs met first. And I don't know, we've all forgotten that as things have gone.
Yeah, it's definitely easier said than done. You mentioned obviously having balance. I don't have any balance in some parts of my life, but I also say that balance maybe is a bit overrated, because you might be spending equal importance on things that are unimportant versus the important, but balance in the things that are important, I guess, is the biggest component of that. Because we've got three kids at home. Obviously our situation's a little bit different to yourself in the way that it's structured, but at the same time I look and go, well, I literally have no hobbies other than business, looking after the kids and exercising myself. But I'm okay with that. Couldn't tell you what the last show that I watched everyone's talking about. It's not about having balance and everything is equal, but it's about prioritizing the important things and having a balance for the important things. And that means yourself and, your family and the business, because obviously the business helps support the family financially and things like that. So,
Yeah, I've actually been probably too good at switching off from work on my days off and not responding to emails and things like that, when sometimes it would probably be beneficial to keep a bit more of an eye on things. But I also want to make sure that those days and those times are just for Jack and I. Procrastinate far too much. And I think sometimes that's trying to cope with the overwhelm when that happens. But yeah, definitely hobbies and things have gone out the window. I found a mum's netball competition, and it's on a work day, which means it's a daycare day. And I went, you know what? I'm just going to make that work. I haven't been able to make it work very well over the last few months because things have been obviously different while I've been short-staffed, but we've just made some changes so that I can kind of build that back in, because my exercise has suffered. I've been a really poor example as an exercise physiologist since I had Jack, which is kind of disappointed me a little bit that I haven't prioritised my health and fitness more than I have. So,
but you've gained a better understanding of your clients, of what they're going through through lived experience.
As I do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, exactly. The lived experience element is real. Yeah, certainly I don't. My reading, whether audiobooks or physical books, has gone out the window. I haven't done any of my other hobbies, but I sing and dance a lot more with Jack.
Adult songs or just?
Like, he's got a pretty varied musical taste, actually. Like,
it's all yours.
When he was about 8 weeks old, like, he was still tiny baby, but he seemed to settle best to Metallica for a while there. So
that had nothing to do with you at all, did it? No, absolutely nothing.
So, we've got a pretty wide variety. So some days we listen to ABC and some days we listen to other stuff. No, he has no choice, but, I also, it's good. He'll ask for things. He knows all the words to the Melbourne Footy Club song, so I'm proud of that. So,
coming from Sydney, I don't get that part, so sorry.
Yeah. I've introduced him to a few of those things. So just trying to make sure that, it's not necessarily about being able to do more things with hobbies and stuff, but to be able to just kind of appreciate quality of life together and to use those days that we have together. For the non-negotiables, like swimming, I think is a non-negotiable. That's a skill he needs to learn. So, but apart from that, I don't want to fill up his life with activities and my life with activities, because I'd rather focus on the connection that we have in that time, and then focus. And I guess that's probably a good reflection in business, as well as using the time that I do have there to connect with the people that I need to. And it is nice to still see clients face to face and get that connection and be like, oh, yes, I am good at what I do and I know what I'm doing. Because I think I had a little bit of imposter syndrome. I'm like looking at these kind of new grad clinicians that are working for me going, oh, they're better at this than I am. And then actually getting that reassurance from people sometimes that, well, actually, if they are better at me than I am, then that's a good thing, because it means I put the right people in there. But there's still a lot that I can offer them, but also knowing that when I do throw my hat in the ring, that no, I'm still pretty good at what I do. So, you know, hold on to that.
That's good. So obviously a lot of things going on in your life. So we end with a few questions that I'll ask you. So, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you got started in business?
Oh, so many things.
The first thing that comes to mind.
Well, look, probably the first thing that comes to mind, it is that I think you touched on it at the start about just having the courage to go all in and not be half-assed at, a couple of things and try and do one thing well. I think I've kind of held on to that fear for too long, and instead of just backing myself to leap in and, that I can do it, and I probably could have done it quicker if I'd trusted in myself to just do it.
So to be successful in business, you definitely will have some failures. I can say that I've had them. What mistakes have you made that you're obviously willing to maybe share? Because it happens, people need to know that it happens and it will happen. So I thought it's always good if someone shares some way that they stuffed up.
Oh, so many things. I know that the first lesson that I took forward was I had no idea how the high caps machine worked when I processed my first Medicare rebate on there. And so what ended up happening was that the client got paid, they got their rebate, but I didn't know that I had to do a second swipe for me to get paid, because I'd swiped their card for the rebate. I didn't realize I needed to swipe it again for me to get do a separate transaction for me to get paid, and then the client never came back, and so she got paid to see me and I never got paid. So that was a little lesson, but one that I certainly have never forgotten. And
so at least it was on a comparatively small invoice to something that could have happened.
I think there's probably been a lot of those sort of things along the way that I mean, oh gosh, I am far from perfect, and there's a lot of stuff that I need to do, and I struggle a lot with my focus and my systems. I'm not very systemized, there's a lot more that I need to do to have things running more efficiently, and to make sure that the money's in my account that should be in my account, because I've actually done everything I need to do to follow it up. So that's probably one of my biggest challenges, failings, learnings along the way.
Yeah, I think preaching to the choir here, sometimes it's definitely a challenge to not get distracted by the shiny things. I think that's in my Instagram bio. Heavily distracted by the shiny things. What's the biggest reason you're successful in business?
Look, it's a word that I think is overused and not actually used properly. I do think that it's my authenticity as a person, and I think that a lot of people who actually say that are not being particularly authentic when they use that. If that makes sense.
You don't have to justify it. This is the time for you to be confident. To go, I'm an award winner. I've done all these things. And we do that as a...
But I think for me, it's me and who I am as a person and how I relate to the people that I work with. And I think that something that works really well in my business is that we have really good, solid relationships with our clients. In a lot of ways, they've become our friends and our family. And that's something that I've kind of prided myself on in how I've worked with people. And I've been really fortunate that when I've found the right fits for my business, it's been the same with them. So we've developed those close relationships. And so I think it's just something that I think has been my biggest skill as a clinician and as a business person, is that I seem to have a good feel for reading people, whether that's physically, mentally, or emotionally. And, I treat people as they are and as people, not as a list of conditions or, dollar signs and things like that. And I think that that's something that is a really good skill to have. And I think that's probably what's kept me going to this point. So we have a lot of loyalty with our clients and our beautiful little family, and I think that that's the biggest success, and that makes me proud.
Yeah, you can say that you're successful and things like that, because we always feel like we've never made it. I made a post about that the other day, that like, as a business owner, you never feel like you've made it. So it's hard to say, oh, I am successful, even if other people perceive you that, because I don't think you ever feel like, I don't feel successful, even though there's things that would be deemed successful by other people, because it's still, you know, you want more, you want better, you want to improve, and that's part of the process. So it's okay to not feel like you've made it and not feel successful despite being so. So
yeah, I think,
just
yeah,
be proud and accept. While I want to ask you that.
Yeah. From the outside, that people kind of look at me and think that I'm having success, where internally it's always different, like you said. But I know I've always kind of had this. I always sort of say that, you know, I seem to have had this mythical, I treat it as this mythical reputation as an exercise physiologist, whereas, you know, people think I'm some kind of rock star, and I don't kind of feel that at all. But I've interviewed people who've been kind of starstruck to be interviewed by me, and I'm like, wow, like, where did this come from? So,
I felt the exact same, and you just put it like, I don't know why, what did I do? And I think I've just been around for a while, and I'm just older than most other EPs. I don't know.
I mean, I had a client come in recently who was an allied health professional themselves, and they stopped me one day and they said, can I just tell you, you really need to know that you are exceptionally good at what you do. You know, I've seen other exercise physiologists and I've been happy with them, but now I started seeing you, it's a whole different level, and you need to know that you are really good. And it's actually so nice to hear that.
Yeah, can they put in right?
Because like, I mean, we all get that imposter syndrome, and I think it's healthy to have that in a lot of ways, because it helps us keep striving to be better. But it is really nice to actually hear it come back to you sometimes and go, yeah, I am good.
I think it just means you're self-aware and not a narcissist. So that's an important quality to have.
We all know those.
So if you had one piece of advice to give EPs who are just starting out or wanting to start out in business, what would it be?
I think for those starting out, I think it's take on board, learn from those around you and those that are already doing it, whether they've been doing it for a short time or a long time. But I think we can, whether we realize it or not, we can learn so much from those that are around us who've paved the way for us, and to be confident in who you are. And it's sort of, I'm blending into two bits here, but be confident in who you are and what you know. I think there's a lot of EPs out there who have spent their careers feeling not good enough, or like that they're losing the battle against other clinicians and worrying about other professions and things like that, instead of just backing yourself to know what you know and being able to do what you do. And whether it's as a business person or as an exercise physiologist in the public health system or the compensation, like, I've worked in a lot of different areas, and one thing that I think I've never done is let somebody else tell me what they think it is that I do, even if they've tried to kind of pigeonhole me and put me into different little categories that you have to do this. I've just kind of gone, look, you can have that opinion now, but I'm going to show you what I can do, and I'm going to do it anyway. And so find a way to be you and to bring the best of that to what you do. You know, there is no competition. It's just for you to go out there and be your best self and to back yourself to do the things that you've been trained to do. And, you know, we all bring our strengths to the party. We've all got weaknesses as well. But if we focus on bringing our strengths to it, then we'll do well. You know, I graduated when we didn't even have a professional title, let alone
Me too.
All of the things that we have now. And I have never, ever once struggled to get a job, you know, and I've been employed as an exercise physiologist since I was in third year undergrad. So, you know, I've never struggled, even though no one knew what it was that we do. I've been able to sell myself enough to be able to, you know, be gainfully employed and to keep progressing myself. And I think it's because I've never let anybody say, you can't do that because that's somebody else's role. I've gone, well, that's okay, but here I am and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, well, I started the business because I couldn't find a job that I really liked and wanted something like, well, I might as well start my own. And then that set me on the journey. But yeah.
I wrote a few of my own job descriptions, so once I already had the job, so I've been lucky in that respect.
Yeah, so you made an important point, just that there's really no competition at the end of the day, because the way that the community is, regardless how many clinicians there are and what types of roles people do, there's enough people for everybody, because, you know, the majority of the population can be helped by a health professional in some capacity. So there's a lot more clients than there's a lot of clients for everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And you've got to try not to take it personally. I think that's a hard thing.
So that's hard in business sometimes as well.
Yeah.
That's why we're better stepping back, because we take on things personally, and it's not good to do that all the time. So if you could pick the wisdom of someone dead or alive, who would it be and why?
That is a really good question, and I actually saw that in the rundown that you sent me, and I've been really racking my brain trying to think about an answer to that, and I'm just not sure. Look, I've been really lucky to have a good, solid family to draw on, to draw experience. I think I would have liked to learn or to known a lot more. It's actually two of my great-grandfathers from either side of my family. One of them, he was a teacher. He fought in World War One, and he came back and was a teacher, and he ended up writing a poem that was then distributed to all of the returned servicemen in the Bendigo area after the Second World War when they came back. So he sort of, and it was a different time, I think, different values. I think it would have been nice to kind of know more of them and who they were. And my dad's always kind of spoken about his grandfather, and how he lived his life. So he was someone who, he lost his wife when he had four reasonably young kids, like a couple of teenagers and a couple of young children. And I think so. And he always talked about how, and this would be really interesting to talk to now, how his life was forever affected by his experience of going through the Depression. And I think that's something that's kind of really pertinent for us now, in we're all living through a life-changing period as well, and we won't ever be the same. And, Jack's life is going to be shaped by how the world has changed now. And so I thought that, be interesting to kind of be able to speak to people like that and see what their perspective of that, was compared to kind of what we think now down the track, not knowing much personally.
Yeah, well, that's interesting that you chose a family member, not a celebrity, because everyone so far I think has chosen a celebrity. So that was interesting.
I was like, if I'm looking at celebrities and things, I like, talk about someone like Kurt Cobain or something like that. I'm like, well, would that really add anything to what I'm doing here now in this kind of context? Probably not so much. I just think
want to meet him. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, no.
So the last most important question is, where can people find you online?
Yes. So we are at www.lifeinaction.com.au. We're also on Instagram as Life in Action. It's Life in Action EP. I should know these things. And on Facebook as Life in Action as well.
Cool. So
occasionally you'll find me tweeting, but not very often. But my Twitter handles are Hallam EP, and I think because it's got EP in it, I seem to get a lot of following from music-related people who think that it's something to do with music, and it's not.
Well, I just found you're at life_in_action_EP. So it's got an underscore in each of those.
I forgot about my underscores. Thank you.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right.
I was like, well, I think it's right. Hopefully I just haven't
right.
found a different...
I
just wanted to make sure I didn't find a different Life in Action. But yeah, that looks like you. That's your website. There you go. Life in Action EP, every word separated with an underscore, and your website. So it was great to have you on, and
I should be better at that self-promotion, shouldn't I?
have a bit of a chat. That's all right. I'm looking at the last one. There's Jack, I think, from May. Okay, let's get to posting.
Yeah, I need to get. Well, that's because since May, that's when things changed, and I've been hardly able to draw a breath since May. So it's time
so maybe don't post and focus on you. I guess we'll outsource that to one of your team members or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I've got to remember how to actually, because I had a previous team member who had access to all that, and the current one doesn't. I've got to remember how to do all that. I've got to unpack everything and repack it again.
If they're younger, they can probably just give them the phone and sort it out themselves.
That's also true. You've got to remember that. Draw on these younger generations to actually do the technology stuff that I'm hopeless at.
No, so that's all good. So appreciate you coming on, having a chat about your life, your business, Jack, family. Great to see you doing well, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon. We'll catch up soon.
Oh, I know. It would be really good to, I think, I don't know, we need to find somewhere central. I don't know. Might all end up in Alice Springs or something.
Central, I was going to say, isn't Albury sort of central? That's on the border of...
Oh, yeah, no, I was sort of looking at the others in our network that we've had, but no, Central's certainly more likely Albury. Actually, that'd be good. I've got other friends to catch up with there too. No, it'd be really lovely to catch up with everybody again, because we've certainly missed travelling the last few years for various reasons, and thanks for having me on.
No worries. Well, speak soon.
No worries.